Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? We're about getting into this quick story of the TikTok girl. With that being said, let's get it. It's late, let's get it.
Hey apparel makers, want to make big bucks this Super Bowl? Here's the easy way: pick up a solid bag. Get AI to generate a Super Bowl vibe design.
I'm the victim! Remember? I'm the victim!
A New York woman
Girl, you need some damn pro
against
set.
a DoorDash customer that she delivered food to. She says the man exposed himself to her inside his home, and she recorded him posting the images online. And she even went as far as saying he sexually assaulted her. And her TikTok videos about the situation spread like wildfire. But now she's the one under arrest. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick, before we talk about this case, I want to talk about a big sponsor of On the Case, one of the most watched shows on all of YouTube. We're talking about Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. They're a firm of more than 1,000 attorneys who have recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. In the past few months, a client in Florida received $12 million when insurance offered just $350,000. In Pennsylvania, another client was awarded $26 million. That's 40 times what the insurance company was offering. Morgan & Morgan makes it easy to fight for what you deserve. You can even start a claim from your phone.
Tap screen, please tap
you can start a claim at forthepeople.com/OTC. You can also click the link below or scan the QR code on your screen. All right, let's dive into this one. Wow, police in upstate New York say a 23-year-old committed 2 felonies when she recorded a DoorDash customer allegedly drunk and passed out half naked on his own couch in his own home. But according to the Dasher, that man committed sexual assault. So how did we get here? This is a wild story. On October 12th, Olivia Henderson was working as a DoorDash delivery person in Oswego, New York, that's north of Syracuse on Lake Ontario. She posted a video to TikTok that quickly went viral. She claimed that she had been sexually assaulted by a customer.
3 days ago, October 12th, 2025, I was a victim of SA by a DoorDash customer while I was doing my job as a DoorDash driver.
Now, according to Henderson, she posted about what she says happened on TikTok, but it kept getting removed. Whether that's because of the content that she posted violating app guidelines, or whether it was TikTok trying to, quote, silence her, as she claims, that's still unclear.
The DoorDash customer requested that their order be left at their front door. And when I arrived at their front door was wide open. Their lights were on, and they were sleeping on the couch within eyesight of the front door with their pants and underwear pulled down to their ankles, and they were indecently exposed to me. I got this on video, and I'm not even going to be posting the video clip anymore because I'm pretty sure that's what's getting me the strikes. But yeah, I reported it to DoorDash.
Tap the screen,
and DoorDash
please
did
tap
ban
the
the customer.
screen.
And then 2 days later, DoorDash banned me.
So Henderson's allegations quickly went viral. Millions of people saw the video. It features the semi-nude man who, it appears, is passed out on the couch after leaving the home's front door open. Now, that content was then reposted with other content creators commenting on what happened. Now, according to Syracuse.com, one of Henderson's videos had 30 million views. So this went everywhere. In her original video, which was taken down, Henderson allegedly insinuates that the customer saw a woman was delivering his order and staged himself for some sort of exhibitionist thrill. Now, the images sparked heated debate in the comments. Had it been the customer's plan all along to expose himself to whoever showed up to deliver his food, or was this just an unfortunate and inappropriate mistake? These are the questions that police have been trying to answer. Some of the more cynical commenters have suggested that Henderson herself opened the front door, then took the video to get attention. Also, at the heart of the conversation, swirling online, was Henderson's claim of...
Now, wouldn't that be a charge of voyeurism in what she did? Yes, no, maybe. Tap screen, please. Please tap screen. Please tap screen.
sexual assault? Could what happened be categorized as sexual assault? Was there anything there
Damn it,
from any sort of
98P.
charge? We'll get more into that.
I'll be
in just
right
a moment.
back, y'all.
But Henderson made it clear that she was not giving up.
No, I'm going to keep telling my story. Like, this is the only justice I'm getting, is exposing this man. And having posted that video and it has gone viral. Like, now he can live with shame and embarrassment if people have seen it and knows who he is or where he... You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the one being punished.
This is a man's world. I'm the victim. Remember? I'm the victim.
And they took down my video. They were going to have to pay me for my second story time because that was over a minute long. They were going to have to pay me for all those views I got. So no, they took that right down. They took that right down. Absolutely not. They're not paying me for that. Nope.
In a video with the caption, "Time to sue DoorDash?" Henderson said that she has spoken with DoorDash support multiple times and they refused to tell her why her account was deactivated. She also claims that she couldn't access money that she had already earned that hadn't been transferred from the app to her bank account. But then, on October 16th, Henderson posted one last video.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
Video.
So I and the rest of the world, we all found out why I lost my job together. That's the update.
DoorDash put out its own statement on TikTok and other social media platforms saying, quote, "We've seen some tough and sensitive posts over the past few days, and we want to clear the air. No one should ever have to experience sexual assault, harassment, or abuse, and DoorDash never deactivates someone for reporting it, full stop. We take these reports incredibly seriously and work closely with law enforcement to investigate and support those affected. In this case, the Dasher let us know about an experience that made them feel unsafe, and that is exactly what we always want Dashers to do. Our team immediately began investigating and has been in direct contact with law enforcement and is prepared to fully support any of their efforts. However, posting a video of a customer in their home and disclosing their personal details publicly is a clear violation of our policies. That is the sole reason that this Dasher's account was deactivated along with the customers while we investigated. We've also ensured that the Dasher has full access to their earnings, and we know these are sensitive situations, and we want every Dasher to know if you ever feel unsafe or experience something concerning, come to us. We're here to listen, act, and support," end quote. Now that video update was the last thing Henderson posted to her TikTok page, and that is still active at the time of this recording. The reactions to DoorDash's TikTok statement do vary widely, with some still standing by Henderson. For example, one person commented, quote, "DoorDash upholds rape culture." Another commenter said that everything got blown way out of proportion, writing, quote, "Honestly, if I were her, I would have dropped it off and closed the door for him. She really tried to milk this situation and inconvenienced everyone." But a third commenter referred back to Henderson's first video, which was taken down, but had already spread. Quote, "Her original video showed the door was only a crack open. She opened it fully and entered. I would be fuming if I instructed a Dasher to leave it at my door and then they opened my door and came in to film me in my sleep." Henderson had claimed that she had gone to police to report what happened and that they'd done nothing. But an investigation was underway behind the scenes, and its focus was Henderson, not the unconscious man in his home.
Tap screen, please. Tap screen,
along with the subsequent investigation, indicates
and
that the
shout
male
out to
was
Law and Crime for this, by the
incapacitated and
way.
unconscious on his couch due to alcohol consumption. The video was taken from the exterior of the male's residence. The DoorDash driver subsequently posted the video to social media, where it drew significant attention. It was further discovered that the DoorDash driver had made claims of being sexually assaulted during this incident. The investigation by the Oswego Police Department determined that no sexual assault occurred. The male, depicted in the
goodness.
video, cooperated with police and provided a statement, end quote. Weeks after she first went viral, Henderson made headlines again when she was arrested on November 10th for 2 Class E felonies, 1 count of unlawful surveillance in the second degree, and 1 count of dissemination of an unlawful surveillance image in the first degree. Oswego City
Voyeurism.
Police Captain Brian Thompson told local news outlet CNY Central, quote, "When you put something out there, there's no taking it back typically. When you're making social media posts, take an extra second to think about what you're putting into the world." Now, according to Oswego Police, Henderson was processed and released and given an appearance ticket for a future court date in city court that will be in December. If she is convicted, she could face up to 8 years in prison. Joining us now to talk about this case, and there is a lot to unpack here, Paul Townsend, criminal defense attorney. Great to have you on Law and Crime. I guess just first, have you ever seen a case like this? It just seems so bizarre about kind of the twists and turns that got us to this point.
Sometimes love for your cat can get lost in translation.
It's actually from the both of us.
Wellness pet food turns that love into proven benefits you can see and they can taste. Through delicious meals with real shreds of chicken and fish, protein-packed, culinary crafted recipes they can't wait to savor, or classic favorites with the taste, texture, and variety they adore. Give them
Sorry
So
about
I've never
that.
seen anything that is exactly analogous with this case, but we have seen kind of similar cases where somebody kind of surreptitiously records somebody in a state of undress and then does some sort of posting of it, whether it's on social media, whether it's on a blog or whatever, that kind of runs afoul of this statute. So it's the particular contours of this, the DoorDash aspect of it, and whether or not she was invited in or lured in, that I haven't really seen before. But this is not that far afield of what we can expect.
When it comes to someone coming to your house, and what does the law say about, she has her camera phone and she sees something, she takes a picture of it. That's really, I know that
That's
there's other parts of it that
voyeurism,
we'll figure
bro.
out how
What are
it
you
plays
talking
out.
about?
But I guess as from the homeowner's perspective, like, what are his rights in this situation when technically you've ordered food and someone is coming to your house? So in some ways, could you argue that she was invited into the home, and does that matter at all?
So certainly there's an aspect of this where, as a DoorDash person who's making a delivery, she's invited to be there. However, a homeowner has a reasonable expectation of privacy in their home, certainly. And just because somebody is invited as a delivery person, who has the option to leave whatever the delivery is at the front door, ring the doorbell, and that kind of satisfies their obligation for it. No DoorDash person is obligated to enter into somebody's home, especially if they're passed out on the couch and they're not opening the door to let them in. That is where it kind of transitions from she did nothing wrong to she finds this individual in a clear state of undress. It appears alcohol is involved. He's passed out on a couch. And she decides to take her phone out and, take pictures, which already is something that you're really not allowed to do. And then on top of that, she then posts to her kind of social media pages, which then it becomes kind of publicly accessible, which just kind of compounds her error. And her statements on the matter seem to portray herself as kind of the victim here, being oppressed by the police and by this guy. But in reality, the law is fairly clear that you cannot go into someone else's house and take photos of them undressed and post them publicly.
Well, and I think the time that we live in too, like the idea of going viral, and it's not just, even like Facebook back when I was in college in like 2008, if someone posted a bad picture, like it still felt like that was like in some ways insulated because it was like you kind of knew who was on. Nobody knew what they were talking about at the time, like, and everybody was young, but at the same time, like now the idea of going viral is very real. And when you post something on social media, one of the videos of this had 30 million views. How does that impact this case where it's not just the act of taking the picture, but millions of people ended up seeing it?
So The way that impacts it is in terms of kind of just an aggravating factor. With respect to whether or not it runs afoul of the law, unlawful surveillance or dissemination of a picture, it doesn't really matter if it's published to one person or 30 million. But, if this case ultimately ends up in some kind of either plea deal or goes to trial and she's convicted, then a judge is going to take into account what was the real harm that suffered. And so if the picture gets shown to one person, that's one level of harm. But if 30 million
tap screen, please tap screen.
Real negative effect on this man's reputation, his status in the community, and the harm is magnified by what we consider going viral these days. So that's something that certainly will be taken into account in her case, and also it's something that the prosecutor is likely to take into account when determining what is the appropriate way to resolve this case, because she didn't just take a picture and send it into a group chat, with 3 or 4 friends. She posted it on the internet, where it's very, very, very difficult to remove something once something like that is posted on social media. So this man could be spending, however long trying to get this taken down, when in reality, depending on whose algorithm has what, it can still compound the harm. More and more people could be viewing this right now, for all we know.
Well, and I think of the civil part of this, and I don't know how much money Olivia Henderson has, but if this guy decided to take her to court and sue her for this, because there's not only just the picture itself, but then she made allegations against him that police are saying aren't true, that she was the victim of sexual assault. And if that is proven in court to not be true, what type of influence?
Yeah, and that's slander.
Or I guess what type of argument?
Almost a damn near death sentence.
How that could play out.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because the way it works typically is a civil attorney is probably going to tell him, let's hold off and see what happens with the criminal case. If she is convicted of either or both of the unlawful dissemination and the unlawful surveillance, then the civil attorney will be able to use the doctrine of what's called collateral estoppel in a civil case, essentially arguing that because the criminal case has a higher burden of proof, that she is precluded from arguing in a civil case that she didn't do anything wrong. And therefore, he may be able to win easily in a civil case if she either pleads guilty to one or both of these charges, or if she goes to trial and is convicted. And again, we don't know what her net value is, but certainly he would have claims for real damages as a result of this. I'm sure he's going to have, emotional damages. I'm sure this has been upsetting for him. I'm sure that he is going to be able to claim that his reputation has been irreparably harmed as a result of this. So in the civil sense, he likely is going to kind of bide his time and wait and see what happens in the criminal case. And if it, comes out to his favor, then every aspect of the criminal case can become a part of the civil case. And if it's determined that, she made false statements to law enforcement about his actions or what he did, certainly that is going to be an aggravating factor in any resulting civil case as well.
There's layers to this as well, because there's not only just the picture that she took, but then she accused him of saying, the reason that he was half naked was on purpose. That he did this on purpose for her to show up and see this. But then there's that accusation of sexual assault, which police are pushing back on. Had he actually, and maybe her defense attorney will argue this, is that he did, put himself in that position for her to see him like that. Is that a crime, even if he's inside his own house?
So there's a lot of nuance and detail that will go towards what specifically her defense might be, what she may be legally allowed to do versus not allowed to do. It's very difficult, just going off kind of news reports, to know the truth of what the evidence shows happened inside the house. There's a number of different narratives that are out there. One of them from her is that basically she was lured there, she was sexually assaulted, and that he was, an aggressor. There's a separate version of events where, she's supposed to leave the stuff at the front door, but the front door is just wide open and he's passed out and she has a line of sight on him and she just kind of walks in and takes the photographs and he doesn't really even have any idea that she's there. At the end of the day, what she's accused of the taking of the pictures and then disseminating them, that is kind of separate and divorced from any claim that she has that, you know, that she was sexually assaulted by this guy. And in reality, if that were the case, I think prosecutors are going to struggle, because it would be odd behavior for somebody who has just been the victim of a sexual assault to then turn around and photograph their perpetrator while they're seemingly passed out on a couch immediately after such an assault occurred. There's a lot of kind of holes in that narrative that I think she would have, to have a really convincing explanation of before prosecutors would credit that story.
Well, and it seems like police, too, are citing just the fact that this guy, from what they've said, I mean, he was so drunk that, in the words of the police, was it just couldn't have happened, is what they're saying. And we'll see how it plays out. But how does, I guess, his blood alcohol content, if they have that, kind of play into how this could be presented to a jury if it got to the trial, where it's like he is just
Tennis
out
screen,
cold.
please.
And it seems that police are pointing to that to say that it's just her story could not have happened based off of, I guess, what they were able to pull from him and understanding just how drunk he was when he was passed out.
Well, certainly if his blood alcohol content is at a certain level and he's really passed out on a couch, that makes a sexual assault scenario significantly less likely to have happened for several reasons. One, excessive alcohol use, diminishes the capacity to engage in that kind of behavior. And two, if he really is passed out while that drunk, I mean, that's very different than just kind of dozing off and taking a nap on the couch. That is a much deeper kind of sleep that it is not something that would typically be able to be associated with
people
just having engaged in sexual assault and then crashing onto a couch, dead drunk. So I think his blood alcohol content is a very, very relevant factor in assessing, whether or not there's any validity to the claims that she's making.
And for her defense, whoever her criminal defense attorney is, and for a person to take over this case, and she's had a couple different narratives, she's certainly said a lot of stuff, and has made a lot of accusations on social media.
All statements come from me, the defense attorney. I don't want her speaking to press. I don't want her speaking to law enforcement. I don't want her making any statements about what happened here. She is now been arrested. She's charged with 2 felonies. She's facing, up to 4 years, and it's really not doing her any benefit to have her continuing to talk. At that point, the defense attorney is going to be reviewing all of the evidence in discovery, because the things that come out in the news are not necessarily always what the actual case files are, what the statements by, the potential witnesses are. If there's, a ring camera, what does that show? And you have to look at the evidence and see where the case for the prosecutor is weakest, and then center your defense around that. So to the extent that there might not be any recordings of her, coming up, you can tailor your defense around, certain things that she might have done, maybe misunderstandings that she had, or actions taken by this man in the ordering. Maybe he had some kind of message in there that she is, interpreting as luring her there. So it's all very kind of fact specific on what you can show to a jury or to a judge based on the discovery that you are provided. It's very difficult, to just get kind of a vague sense of potential facts and circumstances and craft a specific defense from those.
And she's facing these 2 felonies. I mean, and just according to the, how the laws are written, she could go to prison for this. I think of the 30, on one hand, I could see, some sort of plea deal playing out, but then on the other, 30 million people, and that's just one of the videos, saw this. This is a big deal. There was a lot of damage allegedly done here. If what police are saying is true, how do you see this case playing out?
So that's a real difficult thing to kind of quarterback from here. First off, the prosecutors are going to be in deep discussions with the purported victim here, kind of figuring out if he really wants to throw the book at this woman, move forward. He wants to testify. He wants her to go to jail. That's something they're going to take into account. It's the prosecutor's case, not the victim's. So the ultimate decision on whether or not to resolve it in a plea deal, whether or not to take it to trial, that rests with them. But certainly the input from the victim is always considered. And then the harm to the victim is always considered. In a case like this, where we're talking 30 plus million views, there's going to be, a lot of consideration from the prosecutor's office to really send a message that behavior like this is just intolerable. So is this case going to end in a plea deal? Is it going to end in prison time? I don't know. I mean, we don't know what her background is, but if we were to assume that this is a first arrest, this is a nonviolent 2E felonies that would run concurrent if they were sentenced, because it all stems from the same basic, thing that she did. So is it possible that her attorneys would be able to successfully argue for something like probation? Sure, that could happen. There was no violence involved. As of right now, the guy is not out any money. He might argue that his job prospects in the future are going to be damaged, but that's very prospective. Depending on how you view the case, and there's arguments to be made either way, I could see a defense attorney. If I had this case, I would certainly be arguing for no jail. But I could also see a prosecutor really harping on the harm that was done to this man in an effort to push for some period of incarceration.
Yeah, and we'll see how this plays out. I mean, just a bizarre case in one ways, but you feel for this guy. If what police are saying is true, to just wake up to all of this and going viral in a way that nobody would want. Paul Townsend, criminal defense attorney, thank you, as always, for being with us on Law and Crime. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Chris.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Chris.
Good night, y'all.
We'll see you next time.